that has any interest in the Southern campaign or the American Revolution, you know Charles Baxley. If you haven't met Charles Baxley, you will soon meet him this afternoon and tomorrow morning, and you will realize that if there's any action about saving the history of the American Revolution in the South, it rests with Charles Baxley. Charles.
Thank you. George, where's the clicker? George, where's the clicker? Well, all I have to do is save the whole American Revolution in the South. So I hope I live about 300 more years.
We do too. Well, you could expand that to Illinois now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mark, it is interesting to read the old pension accounts of how many people did move to Indiana and Illinois and Ohio. I figure that these are old veterans who moved there with the kids and the grandchildren, since there wasn't too much Social Security going on. And if you were successful in getting your pension, I think it was maybe $8 a year or something like that. Anyway, George and Carol wanted me to come and talk this year about the South Carolina 250th Commission. The General Assembly organized the South Carolina Sister Centennial Commission in 2018 and charged us with the task of coordinating the celebration of the birth of our nation, the birth of our state, and our victory in the American Revolution. The leadership of the House and the Senate and the governor of South Carolina well know that the world changed because of what a bunch of people who had liberty in their hearts did in South Carolina, especially in the Carolinas backcountry. So I know y'all don't want to read all this legislative language, it needs a little editing, but the good news is that the commission was set up with the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, Department of Archives and History, and the South Carolina Battleground Trust is what I call our statutory partners. The statutory partners are supposed to be working together to achieve a good program to tell the whole world about South Carolina and the American Revolution. We have commissioners from all over the state, and so those are the names. I know that's a fascination to everybody. And these people are serving along with about 50 active volunteers at this time to begin the projects that we believe are fundamental for getting ready to tell our story and tell our story accurately and tell our story from lots of points of view. Mission is both celebratory and educational. We are hoping to not only tell the story to the world, but we feel like we first got to tell it to the citizens of South Carolina, many of whom have no clue that a Revolutionary War was fought in their backyards, and because of the people who walked in this area before us, we have our freedom and our liberty. We have set up 5 strategic goals. Boy, isn't this exciting. And we, from each one of those goals, have already started on lots of different projects. Now, at this moment, the government, because of the COVID situation, did not fund the commission. But they have found someone who has never been funded before and has found amongst our fellow citizens and citizens from other states many people who love this story, don't mind digging into their pockets, don't mind digging into their computer files, their books, their libraries, to dig out the stories, to help us tell the stories so that we can tell accurately what happened here. The Commission hopes that we will be able to provide a lot of resources. And those resources we consider sort of as foundation stones or building blocks. And they are research oriented. Now, for example, Elizabeth Elliot in the 1850s wrote a 3-volume series trumpeting the heroism of women in the 13 original colonies who helped us win the American Revolution. And about a dozen of those mentioned in her book are South Carolinians. And of course, there are many more than that. Elizabeth's book was not what you might call peer-reviewed, fully referenced, and documented. And it included some probably absolute carved in granite facts and some nice legends to go with it. So for example of what we want to do is we want to look at those and others and document those stories so that people who are writing children's books, people who are making movies, people who are building monuments can at least have a referenced and factual account of what we know from the historic record. Today with us is Reverend Dr. Paul Wood. He's a retired Methodist minister. He is my friend from Inman, South Carolina, and he has agreed to take on Dicey Langston. Dicey Langston Springfield should get a medal for how many children she had. But as a teenager, she was a ferocious Scots-Irish lady in Lawrence County, and she stood down the British herself when Tories came to basically murder her father. And so that and about 10 other legendary tales about Dicey, Paul has agreed to work on to try to get to the bottom of. And his work will become the model of the kind of research that we want to do. We want to do the same thing with children who are around to understand them, and we want to understand the stories from all South Carolinians' point of view. Now, you know the old story is, and it's true, the winner's right history. Well, in South Carolina, there were probably just as many Tories as there were Whigs. And what happened to those Tories is a great part of the story. What their experiences were, where did they go? Are they still with us? Did they change sides? All those kinds of things. We also have African Americans, both slaved and free, and there's some research that has begun on understanding their story, because that story has not often been told as well as that of Native Americans. So one of our self-imposed charges is to look at the stories of South Carolina from many points of view. And guess what? Some of it's not pretty, because our charge is not to tell only the pretty stories, only talk about the victories. Yes, we got to talk about getting dusted in Charleston, getting dusted at Camden. If we're going to talk about Kings Mountain and Cowpens, we've got to tell both sides of the story. And by the way, you know what happened to some of those men they captured at Cowpens? You know, they were tried on a drumhead, guilty and strung up at Biggerstaff's plantation. Not exactly our idea of due process. We know to start this thing because this is not the celebration of a one day. The commission's job is not to have fireworks on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, although I hope we have some. That's not our goal. We want to build curriculums into our school curriculums. We want to make sure that there are many age-appropriate books that tell this story for young people. We want to use electronic media to help tell the story, because we have to meet our citizens and people who will be coming here where they are, not where we want them to be. We hope to be able to use the arts to tell this story, and recreation. I think I saw a t-shirt the other day, David, does it say paddle the battle? Paddle the battle. And so it's interesting that lots of Revolutionary War sites in South Carolina are available to the canoers and kayakers amongst you. And just as I don't mind coming and talking with my friends here in Manning, we have dozens of people who are signing up to be in our speakers bureau so that knowledgeable folks can travel around wherever they're invited to tell our story, to be our missionaries, to be voices, if you will, who raise the level of education and understanding. So research, speakers bureau, working on sites, and trying to help local communities identify their sites. This just happens to be a map we're working on in the Low Country. Those yellow stars represent some of the more major battles and skirmish in the Low Country. But we want to say, you know where your battlefields are? You know what they're called? You know who was there? Have they been preserved? Are they accessible to the public? Are they interpreted? So if you go there, and do you have a group of people who love it? Because all of these sites need love. And that's what Durant was saying, Ronald. He showed you the picture of Fort Lindley, because when I went there, it was pretty overgrown. And now someone and some group loved it enough to clean it up so you can go there without probably strangling yourself on poison ivy vines. So we want to get ready for what we call cultural heritage tourism. In South Carolina, the United States, there is going to be, for the 250th anniversaries, which have already started, by the way, and go to the anniversaries of the British sailing out of New York and the Treaty of Paris in 1783. And we are going to invite people here from all over the world, from all over the United States, to come to our places, to hear our stories, to see our sites, and to see how the politics of the world changed in South Carolina. An inherited dictator would no longer rule this state and this country. We want to help tell the story. We want to bring some expertise. That's a royal provincial button. It's probably a button that was on the uniform of a person from the northern part of the United States now, who was loyal to the crown, who lost the button. And it's fun to see the button. It's a great picture of a great button. But we got to tell the story that that button tells, because that one little artifact, no bigger than this button on my lapel, can tell a whole story and maybe engage a child to want to learn more. So, I have 3 modest requests. If anybody has $1 million check they'd like to leave, that'd be fine. I don't expect that. One, though, I want everybody here to adopt a person, a place, a battlefield, an action, and give it a voice. These places are silent. Now, Clarendon County has done that. There are people who are interested in all the battlefields here and with the mural program. But that doesn't say, for not one penny spent, that everybody here cannot become the voice of a person who doesn't have a voice because they're dead, a place, an idea, an event. Adopt it. You don't need anybody's permission. Just go climb that mountain, raise your flag, and say, I'm here, come listen to me, I'll tell you this story. Number 2, we have the Committee of 99, a name we stole fair and square from the early revolutionaries in the United States. And the Committee of 99 is simply individuals and groups and governmental and non-governmental organizations who give us an informal handshake, if you will, to become the Commission's partners in telling South Carolina's birth story for the next 13 years. We're looking for individuals who are interested in that, will volunteer to do it. We're interested in organizations, heritage organizations, military lineage organizations, counties. We've got our first relationship started because of Bill Seegers with Darlington County. The first city that's going to sign up is Travelers Rest, South Carolina, where they're on the cutting edge of building an appropriate memorial to Dicey Langston, the lady that Dr. Wood is researching. Finally, everybody in here is capable of doing a Revolutionary War research project. Now, those of you who are in heritage organizations know that to get in, you've got to know something about your ancestor that served and supported the American Revolution. It's good to do that. It's good that somebody did it for you 100 years ago and it's on file at the library in Washington, D.C. But we want to bring those stories to life. Now, if I say, oh my goodness, come down, I'm going to give you a 3-hour history lecture, Durant can get 100 people to come, I couldn't get one. But if I could tell some interesting and engaging stories about real people who are struggling in real time, and their struggles look like the struggles we're having right now, something we may be able to relate to and know about, then people will listen to it, and they'll listen to it respectfully and patiently. So, this is the message, the takeaway. The national, international, state, advertising, promotional, and events campaign is going to happen whether we do anything or not. People are going to come. But I know some of you have probably heard of Google. And if you come and there's nothing to see, as my colleague always says, is there anything there to see? If they see nothing, they're going to give us a big 0 stars. And nobody will come back because people believe if it's on Google, it must be the truth. So we've got to get ready. Companies are coming, y'all. Companies are coming. We've got to get ready because we've got hospitality on the line. And they're going to come by the boatloads. We're going to have some boatloads of folks coming. And guess what? They're going to be hungry. We got to take care of our guests. Some of them are going to come by water, some are going to come by land, and of course some of them are going to come by air. They're going to want to know about our battles, unless a minority. Most of the folks coming are going to want to know about our people. What were they like? What were they thinking about? What were they doing? And especially they want to try to connect with their people, which is exactly what you were talking about, Mark. So there's a nice modern representation of General Marion, charged with leading his troops on. I don't know where he got that flag. He must have been back to the future or something. But anyway, they're coming. They want to know about the Swamp Fox. I mean, the Swamp Fox had Walter Elias Disney to promote him, and we want them to come and not be disappointed. So there's some places where you can learn a little bit more about South Carolina and the Revolution to start your personal journey. Coming here has started your personal journey to be an ambassador, to be a member of the Committee of 99, to talk to the Sunday schools, the civic clubs, any group you can con in to learning about the American Revolution. Now, the final thing I wanted to do before George hooks me off the stage with his shepherd's hook over there, and he's hooked me off this stage before, so he knows how to do it, is that every county has something to put forward. It's an honor to be here where the Mural Society has done so much, because the whole reason that George and Carol started this was to support the wonderful effort of putting the Clarendon murals up. It's something that tells the story in a visually engaging way. Now we have some battlefields here yet that need a little bit of work, that we're going to have to do some interpretations and making it accessible and those kinds of things. But the critical mass of art is here in Clarendon County, and largely because of George and Carol and others. George and Carol, would y'all come up here just a minute? Would y'all come to the stage?
You want more light, Carol?
Oh yeah, I think you should. What they have done is exemplary to tell the story of the American Revolution in a graphic and engaging way, and it's working. I know people who've come off this interstate just to see the murals. You'll notice that I have on our new campaign button, if you will, the South Carolina 250th, and I would like to give one to you, Miss Carol, and you to George. And I'm not going to shake a hand today or hug you or anything for all the work y'all have done.
You'll be around. He will be around, I guarantee it.
Gotcha.
And he will be here, I believe, starts tomorrow morning session.
David.
So, well, so one of you.
Yeah.
I say one thing about the state of South Carolina, the governor who appointed him, 2 cabinet members of the governor's office who are wonderful answer to Charles now. And when we held the meeting, we've had meetings every quarter, and they've never seen a committee without a budget, a commission, excuse me, a state authorized commission that already has 58 volunteers in addition to the commission members. And it's because, and what we all have to be, modeled after Charles, which is he's absolutely accessible. And that's why people will come to South Carolina and will come back and back. So make yourselves accessible, but he absolutely is. And that's just an amazing thing that we are demonstrating to the state. And it's because of people like George and Carol who have done it in their own neighborhood. Hip hip!
If you would, how many people that are here do not live in Clarendon County? Hold up your hand. Charles, did we start? How many outside of South Carolina?
Oh, geez.
We're on the road, Charles. I hope that Clarendon County and the Swamp Fox Trail Society is at the top of your list of volunteers.
Well, y'all will be a charter member of the Committee of 99, and we do have volunteers from all up and down the East Coast. I'm looking for that first one from Hawaii, though.
I think you better send David over there. David Ruin, folks, in the green shirt. I don't know why that man is in a green shirt. I'm sure he'll find a red one for tomorrow. For those that are returning from previous years where we asked you to clean off your table and all that for the tablecloths and so forth, we are not doing tablecloths.